Now let's take a look how to graph the following lines using a t-table. Now notice the key word, it said graph the following lines. These are all going to be straight lines in Unit 4. So just be very, very careful that in Unit 4, everything you graph should be straight lines. All right, now I went ahead and wrote down some values that I would like for you to use for the following graphs. So you may go ahead and pause real quick and write those in your notes if you would wish. So the first one, we're going to plug in -2 for x. So x is our input and y is our output. So we are going to input a value for x, and you may use a calculator if you'd like. I know that some of you can do these in your head, but remember, if you're not getting a straight line, you might have the wrong value. So I'm just going to plug in -2 for x. So -2 minus 3. Now I get -5. You may choose to fill out the whole table first and then graph it, or you can graph it point by point. Now, in the previous video, we talked about graphing. This is your x coordinate and this is your y coordinate. So I'm going to go left and down. So I'm going to go left 1, 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. All right, now you are going to plug in -1. Now, if you're using a calculator, just arrow over, replace the 2 with a 1, and you don't have to retype everything in. So -1 minus 3 is -4. So this time I'm going to go left 1, down 1, 2, 3, 4, draw a dot. Then now if you're going to replace the 1 with a 0, remember we're not going to have -0. So either clear out your calculator, or if you hover over the negative and hit delete, then it will just delete the negative. 0 minus 3 is -3. So remember, 0 for x means do not move right or left. And -3, 1, 2, 3. You're probably noticing a pattern right now, and you might be able to guess the next number. And also, as you're graphing, you should remember these are going to be going in a straight line. All right, let's plug in 1. So we can just replace the 0 with a 1. 1 minus 3 is -2. I know some of you can do that in your head, so you won't need a calculator. And then 2 minus 3 is -1. You can probably guess if I plug in 3, if I put in one more value, 3 will be over here, 0. Now at this point, I would like for you to use a straight edge or a ruler. Let me see if I can find one real quick. I don't have one nearby. In my video, somewhere I have a ruler. Oh, I found one. Okay. If you don't have a ruler, use your student ID card, use the edge of a folder, a book, anything. But you must use a straight edge for this unit. So just line up those points the best you can. Draw your knot line, and I'd like for you not to stop at these 2 endpoints because this line does continue on forever. So please go from one end of the graph to the next, and don't forget to put arrows on. I'm going to be very, very picky. You must use a straight edge, and you must put arrows, and you must extend all the way from one side of the graph to the other. Now, I do understand sometimes when we're trying to line up our ruler, it might be a little too high or a little too low, so your line might not go perfectly through the center of the points, and that's okay. But I want to be able to tell that you used a straight edge, you didn't draw it by hand, that you extended it from one end to the next, and you used arrows. All right, let's do the second one. Okay, so I'm going to type in -2. Now, because I'm going to be doing multiplication or a product, I'm going to put my x value in parentheses. So -2 times -2, close the parentheses, and then add 1. And we get 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the whole table first this time, and then do the graphing so you can decide which way you like. Okay, I'm going to replace this -2 in here. Make sure you're replacing the x, not the -2 in front. So -2 times -1 plus 1 is 3. Now I'm going to replace the -1 with 0. So rather than retyping it, I'm just going to delete the negative, replace it with a 0, and I get 1. Some of you are starting to see a pattern. Replace the 0 with a 1. So -2 times 1 plus 1 is -1. And replace the 1 with a 2, because that's the last value I picked, and I get -3. Now remember, when you're plugging in your own values here, make sure you pick some negatives, always include 0, and then pick some positives. All right, we have all of our points, so now let's graph. We're going to go left and up. So left 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, draw a dot. This time I'm going to go left 1, but only go up 3. 1, 2, 3. This time at 0, remember x is 0, so stay right here at the origin, but go up 1. Now we're going to go to the right 1 and down 1, then right 2, down 3. And notice all my points are in a straight line. If you graphed 0, 1 on the wrong spot, your line probably won't be straight. So that's an indication that you need to go back and recount your points. Get a straight edge, anything at all, and draw your line. Make sure you go all the way through one side of the graph to the next, and you must put arrows on your graph. Now the final one, we're doing y equals 1/2 x, and you'll notice I've changed my values of x because I'm going to have to take half of these numbers. So I really don't want to take half of -1. It's possible you get 0.5, but that's awfully hard to graph when the graph is counting by whole numbers. All right, so you can either put in 1/2 as a fraction, so we would do 1 ABC 2. You may put in your half as a fraction, or we can just use 0.5, because 1/2 is 0.5 times -4, and that's -2. 1/2 times -2 is -1. 1/2 times 0 is 0. 1/2 times 2 is +1, and 1/2 of 4 is 2. Again, you don't have to use your calculator. I know many of you can do that in your head, and that is fine. And now we're going to graph. Go left and down, 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2. Now we're going to go left 2, down 1. If I'm going too fast, please be sure to pause, and you can catch up or watch and then complete it when the video is done. And then go right 2, up 1. Notice my points are all staying in a straight line. There's 4, 2. Use your straight edge. Make sure you extend all the way across your graph and that you put arrows on. I'm going to be checking that you're doing that, and you have now graphed 3 lines using a t-table.